Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 21st episode of Business Chunautiyan. The Air Conditioning and Refrigeration Trade Association is a representation for all the MSMEs in the field of HVAC&R, primarily focused on the entrepreneurs in the field of HVAC&R. Over the last 20 episodes, we have brought you every month a journey, a story of an entrepreneur from India, from the field of air conditioning and refrigeration. We brought you challenges and issues that we face and how these gentlemen and how these entrepreneurs have handled these issues. So today we come up with another interesting story of contracting. And I've got, as usual, Sachin with me, who's helped me put this event together. Thanks, Sachin, for helping put these events together. Great. So Sachin, you're muted. You just have to unmute.
Sorry. Yeah. Thanks, Ajit. I think our last two sessions have been focusing on the manufacturing sell-offs stories, and so I'm sure our audience would be really keen today to hear a story from a contractor. And I think in our industry there haven't been many such cases where we've heard of a contracting firm, selling off their business. So I'm sure today's session is going to be very, very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, when we actually released the details about the event, we had a lot of people who sent out a message to us saying that this is fantastic. We would really want to know, because that's one segment where people have always had doubts. Is it scalable? Will we get people to partner with us? Can you sell it off? Can you get a good in multinational to take interest in us? And I guess that's the story that we bring together. And to help us share his whole journey with us, we have Mr. Vinod Saladi. He is a professional with over 25 years of experience in the field of HVAC. Having worked with corporates like Voltas, Godrej, he turned to entrepreneurship in the year 1996. He has been the head of project services and finance functions ever since the inception of ABS, and gained recognition within the industry for an on-time delivery. He also effectively handled the entire operation of overseas projects in Maputo, Mozambique, and Colombo. Currently, ABS is a company with an annual revenue of over 300 crores, and in the year 2018, it entered into a joint venture with Fujitsu General Limited of Japan. So before I bring on Mr. Vinod Saladi, let's have a look at his company.
Since 83 years, Fujitsu General Limited has been the torchbearer at the heart of global HVAC business, a global force synonymous with quality and reliability. Joining hands with Fujitsu General Limited is another name that stands for trust and freshness, a name that Fujitsu General Limited has instilled immense faith on to embark on a new journey in India. A name that has been serving its customers with matchless commitment, ABS Aircon engineers. After handling over 1,000 projects in over 15 domains across India, ABS is proud to signal a new beginning with Fujitsu General Limited. From today, ABS will have Fujitsu General walking by its side forever.
With a global leader by our side, the possibilities for a contracting firm are infinite. What started as a little spark today is reaching the skies.
ABS is the first step towards our global journey into becoming a commercial air conditioning force.
Like us, they too care for human beings, for their work culture, for fine details, for long-lasting relationship, and perhaps that's why they connect with us. We connected so well with them.
Around 6 years ago, Fujitsu General was just like ABS now. We see a reflection of Fujitsu General's energy, dedication, and focus on customer delight in ABS. And this is why we choose ABS as a partner.
For anybody in India, Japan means a land of futuristic thinkers, ancient culture, and great people. When one of the respected Japanese company, Fujitsu General, wanted to collaborate with us, obviously we were thrilled, and at the same time we realized that the principles and methods what we followed over the last 22 years resonates with one of the world's best corporates, to say the least.
Together, we aim to become the leading total air conditioning solution provider in India.
This is not just a collaboration, it's a celebration. A celebration of cultures, ideas, values, growth, and our dreams. It is an important strategic partnership for us in India, and it's a certainly celebration of harmony and togetherness.
Thank you, Mr. Vinod, for joining us. So, gentlemen, my friends, we have the CEO for ABS Fujitsu General here with us. Thank you, Mr. Saladi, for taking time out for our members today. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Ajit, and thanks, Sachin, for having initiated this. And a very good evening to all the RATA members, all the people listening, and it's definitely a privilege to be here.
Awesome. So, Vinod, before we start, so we just want to, all the members and all of us want to hear, how did this whole thing start? As your entrepreneurial journey, you were a professional working in large organizations. Where did the entrepreneurial bug hit you? How did you get in with your friends to found this company? Tell us a little about your backgrounds, and when you have multiple founders and co-founders, how did you actually get this thing whole started, and what are the responsibilities you had during this journey? So let's hear from you on that.
Yes. It all started in 1996. I think back then we college buddies used to meet up in the weekends, like most others would do, and we used to talk about the place where we work and the kind of opportunity, the responsibilities we handle, and that probably back then in early 20s was an age of unbounded energy, right? And we used to think that there was always a feeling that we could do a lot more, and there's always this happiness to come together with the buddies. And if you could, if you had a team of them, three of us teamed up, and three of us could do something together. And as we kept on exploring various ideas, we came upon this. That was a phase when in 1996 there were very few sales and service dealers for air conditioners, and since I was in Godrej and I was looking at the market very closely, I got this idea across to my friends, and then they also pitched in with this. Of course, there's always a discussion back and forth on that, and then it all started on 15 December 1996. That yes, we will get ahead and start this. And that's how we got together. And I was working in Godrej then. Ali was the other business partner. Was working in Birla 3M, and Balakrishna was in one of the engineering firms then. So we definitely had a certain different perspectives to bring together. So it all started then. That's how we got together.
But during these early stages, once you get in founders and co-founders, when you three of you all get together, how did you all actually put those responsibilities together? Who's going to handle what, and how did that whole thing start? Or was it that in the beginning stages, all of us handle everything?
Yes, I think the latter part is correct. In the beginning, there's a lot more thrust to reach out to the market and connect with the customers. So all of us were in sales, and we all were from sales background. That was the one thing which came to us naturally. So sales and marketing activities were kind of the first choice for all of us. We started with that, and as you also mentioned, we handled most of the things together. Some of that would be by trust, by kind of knowing that okay, one person is doing a particular activity better, so we kind of keep on growing deeper into that. So that's how it all started. I don't think I don't recollect a situation where we sat down and said that right at the beginning, you do this, and you do this. No, I don't remember having done that. So it is like, as you said, all of us handled everything, but with a lot of collaboration.
But tell me something. When you started, usually this contracting, even to a very great extent, even now, majority of them are associated with either a single OEM or multiple OEMs. The brand dealers, what they call as sales and service dealers, or and then they scale up to being contracting companies. Some of them grow exclusively, some of them grow with multiple solutions, multiple brands and offer solutions. How did you handle this in the early stages? Were you associated with just one single brand, or how did that whole process start off when you started the company?
Initially, we started with the Godrej as
Okay.
authorized sales and service dealer. So definitely, that's like a large umbrella. When you actually start, you have the brand value of a large organization like Godrej supporting you in the initial efforts, and we kept on growing. And this was largely windows, splits, air conditioners of a smaller capacity. We quickly grew in the market as very strong contenders in that field. And then about 5 years later, we felt that we wanted to be a full line air conditioning company. So we were also looking for somebody who could take us as their authorized sales and service dealers or support us as an OEM. So these were the smaller contracts where you do for light commercial establishments. So that was when we made the transformation, the switch from Godrej to Blue Star. So it is also a very largely well-respected organization, and having a large set of sales and service dealers in that field. So we had an opportunity with our proven capabilities. So, but as you know, there are always challenges. It is not very easy transformation when you're scaling up. So it started with this single thought that we want to be in complete solutions, starting from smallest to the largest air conditioning requirement, HVAC requirement. So it started with that. So as part of that journey, we made the switch to be an authorized dealer. But in 2010, when our contracting value started directly competing with the OEMs, then we thought it was ethically right to inform them that yes, we are on our own now. We would be taking their products on need base, but we would be an independent organization, contracting organization. That was a difficult decision. It required what I would say a completely new thinking, because it was more or less, some of them even predicted, who knew us very closely, that it would be the end of days for us. When you actually move out of a large umbrella like OEM supporting you on various things, and being an authorized dealer with product support, services support, and after sales support. So from that to be an independent contractor, there were not many success stories back then. Most of them who did that actually did not go on for too long. So when we did that, a few actually predicted bad days for us, and few were very optimistic. Among those were we three directors.
Yeah, but that leap of faith is incredible, because even today, companies scale up and they're just exclusive. Not that it's right or wrong, but most people, like how you said, would never want to step out of that comfort zone of what's already preset, and you took that leap of faith, and look what it has got you there. So how does it work? So at that point of time, you started becoming no more brand agnostic and more more solution centric, and you were ready to work with all the brands. Is that how it worked?
First of all, for that idea to work back then, if I remember, we had to first have the buy-in, not just by three directors who actually decided to make this change, but the entire team, entire organization across the levels had to have that faith in us, because ultimately it's the people who make things happen. And
Sure.
for that to happen, for that belief to be among the people, we actually had to communicate to them a lot. We before even we communicated this decision across to the industry, to the OEMs, we had multiple rounds of discussions within the organization, and we made it a very collaborative activity or a decision making on this. And then after gaining the faith, commitment, and trust of the entire team, we had to we did make the switch, and we are happy when we look back.
Amazing. So from a small venture with friends, moving into an exclusive dealer, then moving into a large commercial exclusive brand, then multi-brand, and then you were based in Bangalore. How did that whole decision of moving beyond your comfort geographies, like, just not just Bangalore, but we will go across to other cities and also go international? When did that happen? How did that happen? And I want to ask one question attached to this whole thing. When we were researching around, we just realized that you don't have much offices in north of India while you're doing projects across the country. So that's very important for us to understand what is that strategy. So tell us about this whole expansion plan of how did that work? When did it happen?
You're almost asking us the entire boardroom discussion.
Yeah, but trust me, these are insights which most of the entrepreneurs who are in the industry is really looking answers for, because often what happens is, when you have one success story, it tends to inspire 10 other people. And then and then like how you had the leap of faith, you never know how many more will take that, and then it has a geometric effect across the industry, and everybody stands to benefit in that whole process. And that's what we've been trying to do with these sessions, as to bring these success stories out and share it with everybody. So tell us about your geographical expansion and how it all happened.
Sure. At the outset, I would like to thank you for mentioning us as a success story, because we still feel we are performing the journey, and we are still doing small things quite diligently, and hopefully we should reach some stage where we qualify for the statement what you made. But having said that, yes, we are. The geographical expansion largely was based on the being with the clients. We always had this what you call that as the company philosophy of customer delight. We focus towards customer delight. So as we kept on doing small things correctly, and if at any year when we look back, about 50 to 60% of our business was coming through repeat orders from customers who are satisfied. So what happened is that when these customers moved out, when they grew and they moved to the other locations, they actually wanted our services to be there. So it all started by following the customers to the locations where they expanded their business, scaling up to the requirement, setting up initially project offices at these locations to cater to their requirements, air conditioning requirements or contracting requirements, and then thereafterwards finding an opportunity, getting the right organization set up at these locations, so that it actually stands as an independent branch. As you understand, when we go to the new locations, it also offers new challenges, at the same time new opportunities. So as we started responding to the challenges initially, we started seeing the opportunities also at the new market, new places where we went to, where we followed the customer and started serving them. And that's how the expansion across the south came for us. Each time when we decided to move, one of the directors took the role of mentorship for a particular location, and that became a very closely watched branch, however small it is. And with the mentorship of one of the directors on a day-to-day basis, we had sorry, I had a call. So we had this director coming back and being the first point of contact for all kinds of improvements, all kinds of systems and procedures correction, which happens for a remote action. So like a hub and a spoke, and then there's this direct connect, and the discussions were very short. We were talking about possible implementations, what could be implemented at the other location, and how is it different from the one we are doing at our current established location like Bangalore, where we all started. This process of mentorship from one of the directors to the new location actually helped us establish the branches across the south. This is our expansion across the south happened. So if I had to sum up the south, it all started with following the customers, then seizing the opportunities, then giving mentorship at the new location, and then thereafterwards ensuring that there's a correct team with the correct what do you call that as procedural or methods which are established for a remote functioning, and that actually clinches the deal for us. Then you asked the other part of your question was specifically you saw us concentrating on south but not to the north. So I think most of us from south know that there are different dynamics in north. When you have to venture, then you need to be a lot more different. Much of our decisions were very simple. We stuck to the fundamentals, cash flows, and what do you call geographical proximity, and the type of customers whom we were dealing with. Back then, we were predominantly concentrating on south. So these were the factors which actually we simply stuck to the basics, and that actually was translated into our method of sticking to south before we started, and consolidating in the south before we start expanding to other places.
Okay, amazing. So tell me something. So when you actually started moving geographically, and were quite busy with your founders, each of them focused on this. But during a similar time, you decided also to diversify into another field, right? Like you started offering IBMS, firefighting, security, electrical. Now that's quite a bit of diversification that you've gone to give an entire solution. I realize that it is the same customer, so you want to give multiple solutions. How do you manage this expansion, both horizontal and vertical? Where you actually are expanding into new territories, but also adding new lines of business.
I think at the base of it, what is most important is the capital, the working capital, because contracting per se is capital intensive, and we had to stick to HVAC for a large extent, because we knew what the cash flow patterns are, and the type of clients, and the kind of challenges we could get. So these are the and how we could solve them and still ensure that the cash cycles are maintained. These were the points. These were the points on which we concentrated. The expansion into new areas, though IBMS was offered as part of HVAC contracting for a very long time, into electrical, firefighting, and the other low voltage and high voltage actually started after the joint venture. With the financial, we leveraged the financial strength we gained through the joint venture, and that has helped us to venture into the other areas. And the purpose was also to increase the order value with each customer, so that actually contributes to the overall top line growth for the organization. So that was the method we adopted, so that we stuck to a cash flow pattern, study the cash flow pattern, and only when we had the strength to cater to the additional lines did we actually go about venturing into these areas.
Great. So it's all working capital driven. You understand that, and when you have that, when you can stretch that capital, that's when you actually move into that horizontal levels of going into different product lines. That's interesting. Absolutely interesting. But contracting is, as you rightly said, while it is also cash flow intensive, it's also people driven. When it comes to site management, designs, everything, it's such a people intensive business. So from an HR perspective, in such a competitive environment, how did you retain talent? How did you attract talent? And the other challenge is, when it's so people driven and you're doing projects across the country, how do you maintain the consistency on your deliverables? How does that work?
Yeah. Two things. I'll answer this in two levels. I will start with a much more the fundamental approach what we have within the organization, and then I'll also tell you um, the larger question what you asked across the locations. How do you do it, and how it first of all happened? The first part is that right from the beginning, we were people oriented, because it is very clearly known that unless and until you have the buy-in from the people, people act, but to act with conviction, they need to be convinced what the management is doing, what the management is telling. So there's a lot of communication. There's an open communication. There's a kind of atmosphere within the organization where there is the management is very free to be approached. In fact, my door closure has been changed 3 times, so you can understand the kind of for my cabin, so you can understand the kind of interaction which happens on a daily basis. So it is very open culture, a culture of equal opportunity, where what you call, there is no bias towards any gender. We are open for any growth. We have good number of women managers within the organization. They bring very fresh perspective. And as we started growing, we actually formed a core team of all department heads, and they come once in a month. Once a month they come together. They discuss whole lot of operational issues, organizational issues. They actually arrive at certain minutes. Those are shared with us, and we give a lot of priority for that data what comes on a monthly basis. We talk to them for any support whatever they have highlighted, ensure that these things are ironed out. There's a lot of what you call lot of points where issues between two departments or two locations are resolved. This process, this continuous process of getting involved, the team getting involved in decision making, and the senior management and the top management constantly in touch. There's a two-way communication which is going on. It's not just the one-sided, I think about everything, I know this, you just do it. Not that kind of an approach, but a co-created solutions, both be it operational, be it organizational. And this is provided a lot of engagement among the team members. What we observed is over the years, whoever has spent 2 years with ABS has gone on to spend minimum 6 years. So that kind of involvement, that kind of internal studies, insights, and constantly checking, are we on the right track? Are the people involved? Are there areas where complacency is setting in? And is there something which we can do so that they are more involved as team, be it one single team, vertical, or be one single person within the team. So these kind of systems what we developed us to actually make it a very interactive and collaborative exercise. That gave us the required what I could call as the culture within the organization, which actually bonded everything together. The continuity what came from people continuing for more number of years within the organization also gave a lot of confidence to the customers, and they kept on repeating orders. So it all translated into growth for us.
But how do you make sure that the consistency is set up between all your projects? Because monitoring them, making sure timelines are spent, and you're doing at multi-cities, multi-line. How do you actually make sure that consistency and timelines are all like typically? Let's say the challenges contracting companies faces, or the customer ends up talking always to the owner. And then from a cash flow perspective, has the bills been raised? Has the measurement certifications been done? Has the bills been submitted? Have we got the payments? Now, 1, 2 projects is fine, but when you're doing multi-city, how do you actually keep a track of all these things and make sure they all work in tandem?
Your question actually is the questions asked. I think I remember last 2 ACREX which I attended before the pandemic. Most of the contractors asked the same question, that how do we know what is our working capital exposure at a given point in a project? And most of the questions what you asked actually arises from that, because if you are blind to that, then the actions from the team would be in contrast to what actually the organization should do. So the primary aim of we recognize that maybe pretty early, because of all these methods of talking to people, methods which are available within the organization, that we developed internally a method wherein we get to know every Monday what is our exposure to the particular project, be it a small 10 lakh project to any size. We know on every Monday that this is the exposure what we have made to each of this project, irrespective of the location, irrespective of the size of the project. So that actually gave the managers clarity as to what should be their action on the field, and all actions were consistent with whatever we have set internally as to this can be the method, this can be the exposure, and wherever they need that the exposure limits have to be higher because of some certain strategic call, or is it if the expense limits had to be, or the exposure limit has to be lowered for probably managing the risk. This was what something which we constantly did, and that gave us control on the actions, and that ensured that there was consistency across the projects, and where customers have to be reached out, where the PMCs, who play a very major role in our contracting industry, have to be pressed upon for certain action. And it is not that only they asking us for action, but sometimes we may have to ask them for action, so that there is always a win-win kind of situation in every project. So ultimately, this information which is provided on every Monday actually became the backbone of our decision making, and that gave us clarity, continuity, and consistency across all locations.
Amazing. That's great. So, before I bring in Sachin to take into those strategic questions, I have just one question to ask is, once you hand over the project, there's services support that you give. Now you're working with multiple OEMs and multiple equipments and at multiple locations. How do you actually ensure that services process? And especially, with OEMs, each of these OEMs have their own methods when it comes to providing services or post-warranty services or spares and everything. How do you actually handle this whole thing?
It is easier than what we imagine. As an authorized dealer, you normally have a lot more restrictions than being a customer to them. And as a customer, you leverage a lot more strength from the OEMs. Nothing to take away; they are great organizations. They have wonderful systems. They make very good products, and they definitely made their mark. But as a contracting organization, you can get into working arrangements with most of the people, because all of them are interested in expanding their business. And it is not that anybody would reject a possibility of doing business. So I think this is the principle at the base of all negotiations. And then our team of procurement heads, technical experts internally have constantly been able to arrive at successful tie-ups, so that some said that okay, you may have to take a particular code to do it. Some said that okay, you get into this kind of a rate contract. Some said that okay, we can supply through an authorized dealer, but then you remain as a customer. So that's fine, as long as we are able to serve our customers. And then and also one more very important aspect as we went about is that the size of equipments in a contracting order kept on reducing. The percentage which was earlier about 50-50 to the OEM component of my total order, or of our total order, uh, kept on reducing. I think it now hovers around 10%. So it's not a very significant thing when compared to the other negotiations on price what we do for the equipment and suppliers, which does not have the kind of OEM kind of tie-ups for service, after sales service. So that's
Amazing.
how.
That's great. So Sachin, Vinod says that it's better to be a customer than to be an authorized dealer. I think that's going to send quite a few ripples within our industry. But over to you, Sachin. Let's take it here with some strategic questions that you would want to ask. Go ahead.
Sure. Thank you. It has indeed been, great to hear him. Really, it has been an inspiring journey. And I think what really stands out for me is the straightforwardness and the modesty of, I think, Mr. Vinod, and I'm sure the other directors. I think that is something what really stands out for me. Let me further deep dive into some of the other operational aspects. As you've been successful in scaling up the operation, I'm sure our listeners would be keen to understand the sales and marketing strategies that you have been adopting. And further, we would like to know as to how well you balance out between all the stakeholders of a project, be your OEMs, the consultants, the PMCs, the architects, and the suppliers. So how do you really work on that?
I think working with PMCs, consultants is mutually rewarding all throughout what our journey. And we have built a certain amount of confidence among the entire PMC and consultant fraternity about our deliverables. That is definitely given us possibility to scale up. And what you call the level what we have achieved has helped us expand our business across India. When we went about scaling up across the locations, we went through this. First of all, we had to get to a stage where we can acquire talents, because it's not that easy for a company which has started in Bangalore to have the kind of connect at each of the locations where we are operating. So we definitely needed certain talents to come into our organization. So you can term it as probably talent acquisition, if you use the word. So if we had to be there, then we very clearly knew that for such an expansion, we needed the kind of strength and the kind of image for the talents to come on board. And only after that we actually attempted such an expansion. So I would say two things: always being on the on the supporting side of PMCs and consultants, so that we are seen as a reliable part, what you call solution providers by them. Our capabilities both on the engineering side as well as the financial side are always displayed. And ability of the organization to get skilled people quickly. These are all aspects which helped us to scale up and maintain.
Can you also throw some light on these sales and marketing strategies? How you were able to generate leads, how you were able to get hold of new customers. So if you could also throw some light on that.
Yes. I think about good 15 years back, when we started actually getting quite seriously into contracting, and then the order size started growing. The three founder directors actually divided our roles then into one of them would handle sales and marketing, one would handle project execution, and the one other would handle a lot of systems, procedures, services, finances, whole lot of things, HR, all those aspects put together. So that clear direction gave the focus. So the Mr. Balakrishna, who handles sales and marketing role for ABS, has been able to grow his network into the industry. All the stakeholders in the industry, like clients, PMCs, consultants, architects. So all these verticals were networked, and what was needed at each of the location to ensure the connect is maintained, the response is maintained, was always there. Any customer, PMC or consultant would look forward for the kind of seriousness what an business owner would get. Here in our case, we are three people, all founder directors, handling three very important verticals, and the response what our customers or clients or consultants or PMCs got was like what a business owner would give, a single business owner would give at any time. So they had this triple advantage, be it in project execution, be it in right at the sales and service marketing, or at a much later date in services. That connect ensured that there's a constant serious approach at all levels of project delivery, project booking, project delivery, and project services. That actually gave us an edge, and that remained as a potent force for us.
Fantastic. Okay. Now, technology is a word which, in manufacturing field, we use it very, very often. So do share what kind of technologies do a contracting firm adopt, to really scale up operations, to increase productivity, efficiency. So I'm keen to learn about how do contracting companies go about on this?
I think the technologies largely will be, I would say, in a contracting industry, a more emphasis is given on process innovation, actually, because we do not deal with a product manufacturing or development process. We deal with the process of implementation or utilization or integration of a particular product into a whole system. So this method of the processes adopted within the organization, which actually finally delivers the project on time and within the cost, is constantly innovated. We think about it: how efficient can we make? Are there any loose ends? Are there areas where we can strengthen our deliverables? Is there any process which is obstructing this smooth flow? So this constant look at the process, constant look at innovating the process has been the method we have always adopted, and that is I would say is the kind of the expertise which we developed as an organization over the years, and that is shown that is reflected in the faith bestowed on us by our customers and PMCs.
Okay, so does IT also play a very, very critical role in contracting firms today?
Yes, very much, and more so with the disruption of pandemic, and where you had to work at times from home because of the lockdowns and such things.
Sure.
A lot has changed. IT has been always important, but a lot has changed over the last 2 years. We embarked on, as part of our growth, as part of our expansion into other locations and controls to be maintained through this process. We have developed an ERP system in-house, and it is based on Microsoft Dynamics platform, and
Okay.
that has actually given us a lot more control for our expansion and control, ensuring that the the projects are delivered the way it is required.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so during the AV, we saw that from your journey, then you looked at getting into a JV mode. So I think let's hear from you as to why you looked at this option and how did that whole process go in. So do share your this whole journey on this line.
Okay. I think it's well known fact in the industry that most of our contracting organizations, they grow to a particular size, and they start feeling the pressure of working capital, and I think this is applicable across industries, and it is no different for us in HVAC as such. We are very, I mean, we realized this, that as we were growing to be about 100 crore organization, in spite of all the best efforts and in spite of all the best methods what we can develop, there are some times where you start feeling the working capital pressure, and then the scaling up depends on the fundamentals again. However, anybody has scaled up, ultimately the working capital cycle has caught up with them, and then either they corrected it, they flourished, or they couldn't do it, and then they are all history after that. We were clear that yes, we have come to certain level, and to go further, and our growth here afterwards would be restricted to the working capital we can generate out of our operations.
Okay.
If we wanted to go faster than that, then definitely we need a booster dose. So that was when we had this idea, but we were not the first to approach. It's the Fujitsu General which approached us, maybe because of all the value we created within the organization, the kind of systems, the kind of the customer connect which we have. We had very clean operation. So all this probably was noticed, and they approached us for a joint venture, and then thereafter it went about, and today we are as the joint
Okay.
venture partners.
Okay, and you didn't explore the private equity route or a public limited kind of a route for meeting your working capital requirements.
No, with the three founder directors were very clear that private equity, though it can get you temporary relief, would give you such pressure on the operations that sometimes you may even have to compromise the core values of the organization. Then the culture of the organization could even get changed. So we were looking for anybody who is a strategic partner, who
Okay.
can be part of the journey, and which we wanted to chart for EBS, and who shared a similar kind of culture, a similar kind of approach towards the people within the organization, because ultimately it's not just the numbers, it's the people who have come together, and as a unit what we are performing. So we kept people at the core of our decision making, and that's how we arrived at Fujitsu General.
Oh, okay. Okay, so now in our past two sessions, as I mentioned, which were also focusing on business sell-offs, one of the questions that was always there was from the audience was related to the valuation aspect, the methodology, how does it work, what kind of multiples do you get. So we did hear our manufacturer's friend as to how did they go about it. So if you could share insight as to how does that work in the contracting firm, whether the principles remain the same, the methodology remains same, or how does it go about? So some of our contracting friends who must be listening, I'm sure would be keen to understand how does this whole valuation business works in.
Yeah, I think I'll come in a very indirect route to your question.
Sure.
Recently, I read in newspaper that one of the one very fertile bull got, I mean, very strong bull got sold, and the valuation was something very similar to the valuations which you do for a company, because the fundamentals of economics remain the same. So if it applies to a bull, it definitely applies across the organizations.
Okay. Fantastic.
So, but actually, yes. I mean, this is on the lighter side, yes.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, uh, definitely from a manufacturing perspective and a contracting perspective, these two could be a little different, because revenue recognition is very different in these two segments. So ultimately, if the company focuses on revenue recognition and is clear how its revenue is getting recognized in its books, that serves as the basis for your valuation. And ultimately, after everything considered, it boils down to EBITDA and multiples of EBITDA, or top line multiple. So any of these methods they would finally apply, but then the value they assign to any organization, any contracting organization, would be the kind of revenue recognition you have been able to show, and the clarity with which you run your operations. Uh, that makes a big impact in valuation.
Okay. And what would be your recommendation to the contractors? Which are the other aspects that they must focus upon if ever they are looking to cash on the valuation part of their business? Which are the critical areas that they should focus upon?
I mean, in fact, I don't think I'm qualified enough to give recommendations, but
Sure.
I can share some insights which
Yeah.
we went through, and then probably if that could help to understand the subject, I'll be happy. The first and foremost thing is building an organization. You need not be that like a lone ranger. I've seen some the extremely something like superheroes. Some of the organizations have that one person, and then everything is just rotating around that one person, and then everybody else is simply either following the instructions and not applying, like one of those Marvel series movies. It's something like that. I mean, I'm really amazed with such superheroes, but then ultimately, to actually have a longer journey for an organization, it's better to develop people who are able to contribute as in the individual positions, and a sum total of that actually is much larger, what we call it as synergy, much larger for an organization than that one individual. So build an organization first. uh, look at base the people and their requirements and their well-being right at the top of your priorities as an organization, uh, at whatever level, and ensure that there's a trust across the organization at all levels. That is the first insight which I could share with you all. I don't know how you would like to apply within your own respective organizations or situations. It's up to you all. But then this is one insight which I could gain in the process, building an organization, then having the procedures, like I explained some time back, that every Monday we get to know what's our exposure on each of the projects. So if you are able to develop such kind of systems, so that the people are able to act in consistent act consistent with the requirements of the organization at all levels, then that actually gives better leverage of the people whom or the organizational setup what you have made. So that translates further into revenue recognition. So these steps, if you follow and maintain very clean commercial transactions, because um, one of the things I would like to share with you is in our 25 years now, 15 December was 25th anniversary of business, and in this last
Congrats
25
on that.
Thank you so much.
Hmm.
In last 25 years, we did not have a single legal case against any of our customers, or customers did not have on us, or we did not have on our suppliers or vendors, contractors, and they did not have it on us. So we had very clean commercial operations, and we did not have any statutory cases or anything pending. So it's very important to go by the statutory norms what has been laid down. um, so one translate to other, organization building, then the people centric, then you have your procedure, systems and procedures well established. That gives you the revenue and the way you deploy it being a very clean organization commercially. All these factors affect your valuation, and will
Absolutely.
either make you very attractive or very unattractive for an investor.
Absolutely. I think wonderful insights on this.
Yes.
I think these are, I would say, the points of wisdom which has come out on this. Okay, so let me now move on to post your post the JV journey. So just wanted to understand, how has it been for your workforce with with an MNC coming into picture. I'm sure bringing in some amount of a different culture also into in force. So you how has it been for them with this whole business integration process?
Yes. Very interesting question. Actually, we faced this when the joint venture finally happened. We went through the process and everything, but somewhere within the team there was this element of the fear that, what after joint venture, are the pressures going to be exponential? Are we going to be asked to work differently? Are our jobs safe first? Sometimes it will be like, efficiency. In the name of efficiency, you tend to or productivity, you tend to actually retrench certain positions and other things. These fears are universal. I think these fears are faced wherever the JVs happen. And here again, the consistency with which the management has been acting previously, and the communication what we have maintained with all levels uh, was very important, because somewhere we had to quell this fear among the team. So the very first thing which we did is that we got our team together, and we had the president of global operations from Fujitsu General as part of the meeting. And we ensured, and we communicated to the entire team that uh, the way in which we function now is appreciated, and it is not something which we would be asking for a drastic change. If at all anything, it will be an improvement. And there'll be improvement among the facilities what you are enjoying currently. There will be an improvement on the what you call overall what one would earn out of the operations. And the longevity what they can see is the same what has been before, what is now, and what is going to be further. So this reassurance was something which we had to give to the team, and we lived every word what we mentioned in that meeting. And then that clarity and sincerity about the management giving a very clear picture actually served us very well, and the team actually got those fears out of them.
I think again, it's something which is very, very critical. I have experienced the same as well during all our sell-offs, JVs. So I think it's what you said is absolutely, I think, very, very pertinent on this account. Okay, so since you've seen this whole transition, from the way the a fully Indian management operations running towards now, MNC kind of a system working into the organization, which I'm sure would have brought in some different processes and all. What are the positives that you would have seen with this, with the MNC experience that comes in, and if there are any hindrances which you find which was probably not there earlier. So if you could throw some light on that.
Yes, I think being a medium-sized organization, getting into a joint venture with a large MNC, which is listed in Tokyo Stock Exchange, their systems, procedures, their information requirement, the alignment between these two on a monthly basis, the kind of data what is required to be generated, the kind of formats which come in after the JV. The way in which you actually integrate these two things is very challenging in the first year of what we call this as a marriage of JV, actually, between two organizations. It's very interesting, actually, since we ourselves were a very procedure oriented, data driven company, and we were very keen to find where our position is at any given point of time. All this data also was focused in the similar direction. So it's only that the formatting and the way in which it was all integrated together was different from what we were doing. So understanding that, aligning our thinking, aligning our goals was the task in the first year. It was at times challenging. Sometimes it can get even a little frustrating, but then in the end, it is very rewarding, actually.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Let me now bring back Mr. Ajit.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, I think there was great, a lot of in-depth discussion here, and I've been getting messages at the side. Can you ask this question? And I keep responding. I said, "Hey, hang on, it's coming. Don't worry." People jumping the gun on that. But here's one big question that we are all asking. Like what you have achieved in the contracting business, do you see many more such JVs happening in the country or in the space going forward?
One moment, there's a little distance.
Was a lot of information, right, Sachin, that he gave in?
Absolutely.
Pretty interesting. Yeah. I think some of the things where he was very, very clear about it. And I like what he said, the reason I moved into JV is I realized that working capital is going to increase. And there's absolute clarity. Yeah. Sorry. Do you see many more such JVs happening within the contracting business?
Why not? I mean, I was so privileged that all along you're called. This is a little success. So if I had to receive it, I'm sure anything we have grown 3 times from the time in 2018. Notwithstanding the impact of pandemic on the business, we have grown 3x in the last 2.5 years. Being in the joint venture. So if these are available, I'm sure it would attract many more such joint ventures among the properly organized companies.
Amazing. So great. So just before we wind up this session with all that lovely information that you've given, tell us, where do you see ABS Fujitsu under your leadership over the next 10 years? What's the future plan?
I would have liked the question, what challenges you would be facing in next 10 years? And I'm sure I would say there would be many. Because being implementation oriented company all along, we always look at, what is that we need to implement to get from point A to point B. That's been our way of thinking. But then, yes, we are again human, so we also have dreams, and then we like to be among the top 3 MEP services companies in India across the regions. So that's the aim at which we are. That's our aim, and hopefully, if we do all the things correctly and remain grounded and keep our ears connected to the field, maybe we should be there.
Amazing. That's great. So thank you so much for taking time out. It's been a fantastic hearing your journey. And I'm sure most of our members who are not just in the contracting business, but also in the other verticals of the HVAC&R industry would be quite inspired to actually hear you out. So thank you very much. And to all our members, it's been a fantastic session here and a lot of takeaways from this session. Thank you, Mr. Vinod. Thank you, Sachin, for helping us put this together.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much. Thanks once again to have me on the show.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Vinod.
Yeah. See you. Bye-bye. Thanks a lot.
Bye.